Bhagwan Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki
Jai.
Sarvam
Yogi Ramsuratkumar Arpanamastu.
This evening twilight, we have had a divine opportunity, a golden opportunity. Once again, it's happening every day. It could only be Bhagwan's grace. Anything could go wrong. And there are 100 excuses to find for not doing it. But despite all this, He has given us this huge gift of grace that we promptly assemble and sing through that. It is a wonderful grace to me that He keeps this going strongly. So let us offer our deep debt of gratitude at His lotus feet. And before we submit our today's prayers, we shall see how this grace works in different ways, in different situations, with different people, with different types of mindset. People often come here with problems of their teenage children. It is very, very natural when they step into this teenage period. There are many changes in the body and in the mind. With proper upbringing, the parents should plant the seed of devotion in the hearts of children right from childhood. If they plant the seed of the divine name, then there is every chance, or much less, or none at all. Otherwise, the influences from outside, when the children step out of the house, the parents could not accompany them, and then they are exposed to all kinds of forces. In truth, the parents are afraid, many of them, and they come to the ashram with problems, which of course Bhagwan, in His own way, by His grace, solves them, helps them, rescues them, protects them. Now, a devotee by name Madhusudan Rao from Hyderabad, I see him the past 2 years, coming only 2 years since, and he was telling me some of his experiences with Bhagwan's Nama. Many devotees have not seen Bhagwan. They have come much after the Samadhi of Bhagwan. All they are left with is the name, the powerful name of Bhagwan. He says that once his father, 80 years old, he developed, he was very healthy, he was attending to his work, he was moving about, and Madhusudan Rao was attached to his father, looking after him well. And suddenly he had developed the spondylitis, a variety of it. They call it ankylosing or something. And he was bedridden. Slowly, he developed inability to walk, to sit, to do anything. He became bedridden. And no matter how many doctors they consulted, the best ones, no doubt, they finally said they could do nothing to help because of his age, and the problem was severe. And he was very upset. Madhusudan Rao was very upset. When he had come to Ramanashram, once he walked over to our ashram also, and he picked up this name, Yogi Ramsuratkumar. Somehow it got stuck in him deeply, impressed him so much, and he began to chant. Now, when this developed, this difficulty, he began to sit by the side of his father and chant Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar. On and on and on. Maybe a few days, maybe 2 days, 3 days, he was chanting, incessantly, begging Bhagwan to help. Because the doctors have given up. And then he says, all of a sudden, one of the doctors came forward saying that he would take it as a challenge and give treatment, which is pure grace of Bhagwan, because they had said, they shook their head before, but now one doctor was ready to take up the case. Madhusudan Rao felt very relieved, and he knew it's only the grace of Nama, it's the glory of the Nama. And then with the doctor's treatment and with his chanting the name together, soon his father was able to sit up, his father was able to move about, and he started to attend to his routine work. He says, purely, it is the grace that invited the doctor to start the treatment, and it is grace that supported the treatment in all ways, and it is the glory of the Nama that made him all right and go about his daily routine. Madhusudan Rao says, for everything, it is Yogi's Nama that comes to his help. He says another time, his teenage son developed a problem. In the college, not only he, there were many students getting into problem, in and out problems. At one point, he had dreams. You see, Madhusudan Rao had dreams about his son. He had hopes and dreams. But suddenly things began to change, the course of events, and there was a threat now to his very stay in the college. the whole situation changed, that any moment he could come out of the college, could be dismissed from the college. Not only he, there were many students involved in some problem or the other. So everybody was going through a very difficult period. Madhusudan Rao was very, very upset because he had high hopes on his son. And that this should happen all of a sudden. And what was more, there seemed to be no end to it. And now they could be facing a very difficult situation if they should dismiss the son from the college, and of course many other students as well. So the only thing he could think of is Yogi Ramsuratkumar. He came to Tiruvannamalai, stayed in Ramanashram, was visiting our ashram. He sat through the whole day singing the name, chanting the name, with one pointed concentration. He said, Bhagwan, you have to do something. You have to save my son's future. It's by your grace that he started to study, he got his admission, and now this has happened. Only you could save him from the problem. He could not find any other way. He could not go to any human being for recommendation, for help. He knew if he got the help from the divine, he did not have to go to anybody. Things would happen of their own accord. So he was very determined to do it as tapas, single-pointed, all the time, incessant, ceaseless, chanting of the name and praying and praying and praying. 2 days passed, another half a day passed, and suddenly he got a call from his son saying that miraculously the problems of the students, all the students, not only his, all the students, other students' problems also got solved. That everybody was relieved, including the higher-ups of the college. And the children, those students, had understood what it was all about. Now, this is exactly what he wanted. Madhusudan Rao says, resort to the help of Nama. Resort to the name. All you have to do is stay in one place and chant and chant. Hold on to his feet. Chant the name and pray to him. And then everything, somehow, in a very smooth and harmonious way, the problem comes to a solution, a favourable one. He was saying, this applies to all the parents, all their teenage daughters and sons. No matter what the problem is, it's very natural at that age. It's a impressionable age. They get easily impressed by things and people and situations and are easily misled, misguided. You cannot blame the children because it is the age, the problem related to the age, the hormonal differences. Both physically and mentally, the children go through many changes which they are not able to adjust to. So the parents must have patience and understanding, and above all, faith in the name of God. And it is tapas. It helps the person who chants, it helps the people around. Bhagwan said, when you chant the name of this beggar, it not only helps the individual, the people around, it helps the whole world. And what's more, it helps this beggar's work. So it's a very simple solution. Many, many, many devotees of Bhagwan are doing that, but we do it amidst so much work that we don't pay as much attention to the chanting as we should. The other things occupy. The worries, the tension, the fear, they take over. But we must let the Nama take over. Every fear that you get, convert it into prayer. Every worry can be converted into Nama. Because the prayers, the worries will come. It is very natural. The fear will come. Anxiety. These are all very natural for the parents, for the children. But we must determinedly change every anxiety to Nama, every fear to prayer. This is positive thinking, and it's better positive thinking than the Western thought, because you connect it with God, you're praying, you're appealing to God, you're invoking grace. Because a prayer is a counter thought. So let us all, the parents, the children who are involved in problems, put our mind, because we have to get out of it somehow. And what is better than holding on to the feet of our Bhagwan and chanting his name? But we have to do it one-pointedly, like tapas. Another time, Madhusudan Rao says that he was travelling with his family from Tiruvannamalai to Vellore. It was okay in the beginning, the weather was pleasant, but all of a sudden the clouds gathered and it began to pour down heavily, blinding rain. And what was more, very heavy winds, like a storm. They began to blow. And what was more frightening than these two was the trees were falling on the street, unable to bear the strength of the wind and the rain. It was the greatest threat, because any time they saw in the front and in the back trees falling, and they began to go very slowly. Now they could not come to Tiruvannamalai, nor could they go to Vellore. They were caught in between, and he was terribly worried. And then they did the one wise thing one should do. The car was going very, very slowly. All of them in the car, for 20 minutes, they concentrated, they appealed, they begged Bhagwan to save them. They chanted and chanted for 20 minutes of intense chanting and prayer. And then he says, the wonder of wonders, miracle of miracles. Slowly the downpour stopped, the winds became quiet, and of course the trees were held in their place. And then the way cleared itself, and they could reach Vellore easily and happily. He said, Amma, how could nature, I saw nature being controlled by the Nama, the power of the name was such. The storm was controlled. It became quiet. The trees did not fall. The heavy downpour stopped. Everything cleared. Such is the power of the name that it could control nature's fury. I saw it happening right in front of me. The power of the name. So why all these incidents may be very worldly from some people's point of view. It's not heavy philosophy or anything, but then it is practical. It solves our problems that we face every day. We have to live this life the way it has been designed by God, and we have to do it with awareness of God's power, God's hold over us. So here, when we saw how the teenager was helped by Bhagwan, I'm not going to go into the details of all that, the problem and how they got solved. Enough to say, the power of the name is such. The problem got solved not only for his son, for the other students as well, people who did not even know such a one existed, a great one, such a Nama existed. It helped even those people. Now let us shift to Sannadhi Street House, and there we see Bhagwan seated and two school children. Of course, the final year, Nivedita and Vivekanandan were seated with Professor C.V. Radhakrishnan, the professor and head of the Department of Philosophy, Vivekananda College. Bhagwan began to ask. He called Vivekanandan to come and sit there. Vivekanandan had applied for an engineering seat. He was hoping that he would get admitted into a good college by Bhagwan's grace. And he was praying. So Bhagwan called him and said, Vivekananda, you want to become an engineer? Yes, Swami. And then he asked Nivedita. Nivedita wants to become a computer scientist. Vivekanandan wants to become an engineer. And then he turned to Vivekanandan and smiled and said, Vivekanandan, you want man-making education or machine-making education? You know, engineering is machine-making. Then Vivekanandan said with folded hands, Swami, I want man-making education. Bhagwan laughed and said, you know, he went inside and brought out a book. This from Colombo to Almora, Lectures of Swami Vivekananda. He gave it in the hands of Vivekananda. And there is a chapter in that on sages of India. And as soon as Vivekananda opened on a page, the line that came was, what has India been doing for ages and ages except producing sages? Bhagwan went into cascading laughter when he heard this particular point that Vivekananda was making, very dear to Bhagwan. It never failed to draw peals of laughter from him. So he laughed and said, Vivekananda, you see what Swami Vivekananda says? He says India has been producing sages. We don't want India to produce engineers and doctors and machine making. We want India is designed, willed by God to produce sages. That should be the aim, that should be the goal of all Indian youth. They must get the strength of the soul. With the strength of God, with the strength of their soul, with the strength of their divine self, they must build India. India would flourish. We are not against producing engineers and doctors. But the children must know that becoming a doctor, becoming an engineer is not the goal of life. The goal of life is God's grace. The goal of life, the aim of life is God. We have to work, we have to go through our life, each one has an instrument in his hands. India will definitely flourish in all fields. India's voice would be heard by all the other countries. There will come a time India would take up the leadership and the other countries would look up to India. But then India is rooted in the soil of Vedas. India is rooted in the spiritual heritage. The culture of India must be a spiritual culture. So he went on advising them. He said, you will become an engineer, Nivedita will become a computer scientist, but do not think that is the end of life's aim, life's goal. You have to serve as an engineer, you have to serve as a computer scientist. The nation as the best tool, as a fine fitting instrument in the hands of God. That is very important. The awareness of God's grace. So then the problems would be less and less. The parents and the children together, if they develop this faith in God, faith in Nama chanting, as the one solution to all problems of life, the world would be a much better place. So now this Bhagwan is here, right in front of us. We should remember his recommendations. The parents can ask their children to start reading Swami Vivekananda. Bhagwan made me read Vivekananda, and I found every page vibrating with the power of Swami Vivekananda. There is a very potent energy, very powerful energy coming out of every page. Even when I read it, my whole body was vibrant with the power, with the energy of Swami Vivekananda. Bhagwan kept smiling. He knew what was happening to me when I read it. This would happen to every youth. Pick up your spiritual strength from the pages of Swami Vivekananda. Every youth, every Indian youth must read the works of Swami Vivekananda. It would fill up their blood with a new energy, with a new strength, with new determination. We shall now thank Bhagwan for all the blessings he has already given. Somewhere I read, happiness is not simply acquiring what you want. It is enjoying what you already have. So Bhagwan has given us many, many, many blessings already. The very fact that we are able to see, we are able to hear, we are able to move about freely, that there is health in the body, is a great blessing. We could have been blind, we could have been deaf, we could have been limping around, limping our way through life. It's the greatest blessing. And all other blessings, if you see the life of Bhagwan, how he wandered, roamed the streets, without food for 2 days, 3 days, not a single cup of tea. We get our food 3 times a day and perhaps more. And we have a very comfortable house, a roof overhead. We have friends and relatives to help us. We already have many, many blessings. So let us appreciate and be grateful to Bhagwan for all that we already have. We let us find our happiness in enjoying what we already have and not complain for what we do not have. Bhagwan, the world has come to this situation today because it has slipped down from its path of dharma, and only you are the Savior, you are the saving grace. We appeal to you for your immediate divine intervention to stop the spread of the disease, to remove the panic from the hearts of people and fill it with an awareness of God's grace, and free the entire humanity from the cruel grip of this dreadful virus, and bring back normalcy based upon human values in every aspect of life, everywhere. Bhagwan, above all, you must enter some vaccine. We are all waiting for this vaccination. And we have waited enough and long. We appeal to you again and again to enter some vaccine that could kill this virus instantly and bring confidence among people. Please give a boost to the falling economy and help guide and protect all those great soldiers who are fighting the disease at the very risk of their life in order to save other lives. Above all, please bless us with constant remembrance of your name and go about our daily life as a powerful, fine instrument in your hands. Jai Yogi Ramsuratkumar.